Bosch dishwasher water inlet valve will not open. I replaced the valve and still no good. I verified there is 120 volts coming into the one terminal of the new valve and it just won't open. I did not measure water pressure, but I can shoot the water across the room from the stainless steel hose, so it seems like enough water pressure. Old valve showed coil continuity and float valve checked out okay, so I replaced the water valve assuming it had some mechanical problem or junk inside. New valve not working. Baffled now. I put a half gallon of water directly in the tub and it runs the wash cycle no problem. So the control unit seems to be working.
Hi, welcome to Just Answer. My name is. I look forward to helping you. If you are getting line voltage to the new valve, you may have an issue with the neutral. Also, you must measure voltage with the wires connected to the valve so a load is applied. Are you reading 120 VAC between the two wires at the valve?
Hi Kelly, across the valve contacts, with load on, there is 0 voltage. From the one leg of the valve, which is connected to the float switch output, there is 120 VAC from it to a house neutral terminal. For the other leg of the valve, which goes to a wire I traced into the door where the control model is, probably goes to the door switch. To a house neutral, it is also 120 VAC. So, 120 VAC on each leg when measured to the house incoming neutral terminal. All measurements are done with load. I'm probing the molded connector on the valve and the washer running trying to fill. Thanks.
There has to be a break in the neutral line between the float and the control.
Float switch has no neutral. 3 terminals, common is hot. Second one is normally open and third is normally closed. Where is the neutral in this circuit? Incoming house neutral is good. Dishwasher has been running 6+ years until this issue with the inlet water valve not functioning. If it is the control unit, then I expect not worth fixing and I would buy new. Out of time today. Do you work tomorrow?
I meant between the valve and the control. The neutral comes from the control area. You will need to follow it back and see where it drops out.
Hi Kelly, I got back to my dishwasher and started from start and now find the float switch not good. It is flaky and unstable, so it must have looked good first time I checked it. The normally open side of the switch is good when open but does not reliably go to 0 resistance when closed. The normally closed side is working fine. So, took the molded terminal which snaps on the switch and jumped the normally open side to force a good closed circuit on that leg, and it did not fix the problem. The water inlet valve still does not open. I'm assuming the control is asking for water since there is 120 VAC at the valve, and I'm assuming the door switch is good since when I open the door, everything stops. With door closed, the washer is running with the half gallon I put directly into the tub. Cycle seems normal in all circuits, drain pump coming on, wash pump running is normal. So it seems electrical all working except for this valve circuit. My only other theory is that the new valve is actually bad. It measures with 1000 ohm resistance, so seems electrically okay. Now what? Thanks.
Hello, so you have 120 to the valve and it does not open?
See my note from yesterday 3:30 p.m. I have been working with Kelly and he said to trace the neutral. Since that involves opening the door to get to the control panel, I checked from start again and found the float switch is indeed bad. This was new news since I checked it 2 days ago at the start of this and it checked good. It is unstable as noted in my note from today at 5:01 p.m. So, even with that switch bad, I jumped the terminal connector for the circuit where the switch is bad to force a closed circuit. That story is in my 5:01 note. I don't know what to do now. My understanding is the power sequence is basically this: from hot in, then to door switch, then to water valve, then to float switch, then to door switch again, then to neutral to close the circuit. If this is correct, then I need to trace the common wire of the float switch down the line to see if it actually gets to a proper neutral. I think that's what Kelly wanted me to do, but I'm not sure. In any case, I plan to buy a new switch tomorrow. Help.
Get the switch and then trace the neutral wire back for a break in the wire, as that is really all that could cause the issue.
Okay, so just to be clear, there are 2 wires I could trace and I'm not sure which one is considered the neutral. There is the wire that comes into the common contact of the switch which goes into the door control panel somewhere. Then there are the 2 wires going into the valve solenoid, one goes to the float switch and one goes up into the door control panel somewhere. Which do I trace? Or can either one of them be the problem? My understanding of the usual circuit on a dishwasher is the wire coming from the solenoid valve is the neutral. Thanks, getting close now, I hope.
The one that goes into the door panel should be the power lead to the board. Which wire do you have 120 across to ground? That would be the hot, and the other is the neutral.
Here is a copy of my note yesterday. Across the valve contacts, with load on, there is 0 voltage. From the one leg of the valve, which is connected to the float switch output, there is 120 vac from it to the main neutral on the washer terminal block. For the other leg of the valve which goes to a wire I traced into the door where the control module is, I have 120 vac measuring to the main neutral on the washer terminal block. So, 120 vac on each leg when measured to the house incoming neutral terminal. All measurements are done with load. I'm probing the molded connector on the valve and the washer running trying to fill. Isn't this the expected measurement? If the solenoid is powered, it should show 120 vac from either side of the terminal to neutral, right? So is the wire going out of the solenoid to the door the neutral? Or is the wire going out of the float switch into the door the neutral?
What does it read across the 2 wires at the plug to the valve? 120?
Across the terminals of the solenoid is 0 volts.
Yes, and from which wire there to ground do you get 120?
Either one measures 120 to ground, measurements under load. Also, note, the voltage goes to 26 vac on either leg when the float switch is activated. I pushed it manually just to see what happens. Shouldn't it drop to 0?
It will not drop to 0, I have to run, I will be back later.
New news, I replaced the bad float switch and that did not fix the issue on the inlet valve. I hotwired the inlet valve to a house outlet and it opened, so I know the new water valve is good. So, following your last direction to look for where the neutral drops out, I traced the white wire from the common terminal of the float switch back to the main on/off button switch on the door. When you close tie main on/off button, the wire I traced goes to 120 vac. So this means the hot 120 line goes to the float switch, then to the water valve solenoid. So, the hot side of the circuit looks good and it goes from the float switch to the water inlet valve where I have verified 120 vac is there. So, next I trace the purple wire out of the solenoid, now figuring it is the neutral, and it goes back to the control unit in the door. It goes into a molded connector which connects to a board behind all the buttons where you choose the type of wash cycle. I don't know where to go from there. It must get to neutral somehow, but I don't know how to trace inside the control unit board or what to check on the many outputs and input wires connected to that board. There are lots of test points in the control unit housing, but I need a diagnostic flow chart or something to do anything with that. What is next? Thanks again. If it will help, when are you free for a voice call? I need to deal with this today conclusively. When can we have a call? Kelly and Guru, I fixed it finally. I found info on another website saying that on Bosch, the water inlet will not open if the unit is interrupted in the middle of a cycle. I canceled the cycle with the buttons and it works fine now. A 3 seconds fix after now I have side panels and door wide open tracing wires. I have to say this should have been step 1 and none of you suggested it, so I could only give you an okay rating, which is probably generous given the hours I have into this. Here is the website with the troubleshooting info, and their step 1 is to cancel the cycle in the control before doing any further troubleshooting. http:/homeguides.skate.com/troubleshoot Bosch dishwasher doesn't fill water 80257.html.
If you have a home improvement or appliance question and want to chat with an expert now, visit JustAnswer.com/ythi.